So I straightened my hair this morning because I washed it too late last night to have time to dry it curly, and I thought it would be kind of cute, but if I'm completely honest, I'm kind of getting 2008 emo flashbacks right now. I have like the urge to go and listen to Paramore and Fall Out Boy once I'm done filming. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, as promised, I will be reviewing the new Revolution Ultraviolet palette. Yes, I'm once again filming on the day that I'm supposed to upload this video. It seems I'm making a habit out of this. I tried to film this video yesterday and I had almost finished the eye look, and right at the end, I managed to mess it up. And then I took one look at it and I was like, you know what, actually this looks like a million other looks that I've done, so I'm just gonna pretend this never happened and we'll try again tomorrow. So that is exactly what we are doing today. We're gonna be chatting about this palette. I'm gonna be trying it, well, it was supposed to be the second time, but it is now the third time that I'm trying it. You're gonna see how I did this look, and I'm gonna let you know what I think about this palette, because I feel like I have a pretty good idea at this point. I will, of course, as always, have timestamps in the description box in case you guys wanna skip ahead to a different section of the video. So I think we should just jump straight in and start off with the details for this palette. So this is the brand new Revolution Ultraviolet Reflective Palette. The first thing that I thought when I saw the photos and then when I got it was Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. We're going for a very, very similar vibe here with the way that the eyeshadows are packaged and everything. Like, there's clearly an inspiration. I ordered my palette from Beauty Bay because I get free next day delivery with their Tribe reward system, and it retails for £8 for 15 eyeshadows. For that price, you're getting 0.75 grams per shadow, which gives you a cost per gram of 71p per gram. This does work out to be one of the more expensive drugstore options that I have. However, as you can see, it does still work out cheaper than e.l.f. and Colourpop, and I do have other Revolution palettes that are more expensive. One comparison that I really wanted to make was to previous 15 pan eyeshadow palettes that they have had. They have a series of 15 pan eyeshadow palettes that started off at £4 and then went up to £5. Now, I have spoken at length on my channel about how difficult it can be to find the information about the weight of Revolution products. It's not always easy to find on their website, but I did find one palette called the Revolution Reloaded Empire, which, side note, looks really pretty, and I was like, how have I never heard of this? But that one did have the weight on there, and that was 1.1 gram per shadow, which gives us over 5 grams more in total in the palette and gives us a cost per gram of 50p per gram. So we are looking at double the cost per gram for this palette. Now, one thing that I do know about that range of palettes is the packaging was really cheap. Immediately I can see that with this one, this is better packaging, it feels sturdier. Have I just paid extra for the packaging? I really hope that isn't the case. I really would expect an increase in the quality of the shadows, so I would really expect them to work really well. In terms of details on the back of the palette, we as always have a little diagram, and some of these shades are pressed pigments. They are as always indicated with an asterisk, and there is a symbol to say that they are not eye safe, so if you do have sensitive eyes, it's always worth keeping an eye on these. And as well as that, the palette is also cruelty free and vegan. When you open up the palette, this is what these shades look like inside, and I have to say that what kind of jumps out to me immediately is that for a palette called Ultraviolet, we don't have that much violet, do we? There's 2 purples, guys. There's only 2 purples, and they're both quite pale. The most ultraviolet thing about this palette is the box. Another thing that did jump out to me is this row of shadows. When they released the initial photos for this palette, I was like, this looks really familiar. Where have I seen this before? And I think it is the Amrezy palette, and I think that the overall color scheme is probably inspired by that one. Now, I don't have the Amrezy palette to compare, but I do have the W7 dupe, which is the show-off palette. I feel like we can definitely see a resemblance. They're definitely not identical. I would say that this one looks like it has maybe a little bit more depth. This one doesn't go quite as dark. I think we know where they got their inspiration from for this color scheme. So let's now jump into the swatches and see what these shades actually look like. Right, I'm just gonna try and swatch all of these in one go so that I don't have to wipe in between rows because I'm feeling really lazy. So our first shade is called Sandy. That's actually a pretty good match to me because I can barely see that. Next up is June's. Then we have Paradise. These don't really show up on me and I'm super pale. See, they're so light, I almost put that on top of the previous one. Next up is our first metallic shade, which is called Velvet. I'm not really sure. That actually looks quite nice. It's got a very interesting texture. It feels really soft. So I was wondering if it was one of those putty shades, but it kind of doesn't even feel like that. Like, it's just really soft, and it does have quite a nice reflect. It's probably one of the prettier metallics in here, I would say. Then a matte, which is Peaceful, and I'm gonna assume that that is a pressed pigment because that is how they normally swatch. And then Idyllic. Then next up is Serene, then Ambience. Then we have Oasis. It is that putty formula, and if you have seen previous Revolution reviews from me, I do not like it. I did try to use it yesterday with a brush, which probably isn't the best thing for the putty formula, and I took it off. I didn't like it, and I think that's a terrible swatch. I know that swatches are not the be-all and end-all. They might look bad in swatches and then look great on the eyes, but so far my experience with that blue is very disappointing, and I feel like it should be one of the star shades and be amazing. Then we have Desert, then Lush, and then Haven. Still trying not to go over previous swatches. We have Sunlit, then Island, and then finally Tranquil. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at that and I feel like these are some pretty poor swatches from Revolution. Again, swatches do not mean everything. However, I have swatched quite a few Revolution palettes and I have had ones that swatched a lot better than this. I know we have a lot of paler shades as well, but I don't know, I look at this, it's just not that exciting. I forgot to mention as well that you do have 7 mattes to 8 metallics, so you do have more metallics in here than mattes, and I would say that 6, maybe 5 out of the 15 shades are more nude. I feel like I'm a bit bored of buying colourful palettes that have wearable shades in them. It is a smaller format. If it's got nudes and colours, it's quite good for travelling, I guess. But I feel like I keep picking up colourful palettes that have nudes in them, and I'm like, I don't need more nudes. Like, I had it with the new Romantic from Beauty Bay, The Book of Magic, and now this one, and I'm like, I don't need more nudes. I'm buying this for colour, and I'm not really getting colour from this. I think these are poor swatches. If I'd seen these swatches, I probably wouldn't have bothered picking this up. To me, this is not particularly interesting. So that is a little bit of a strong start to my thoughts on this palette. I'll let you guys go through the tutorial now. You can see how this look went, and then we'll come back at the end for my final thoughts, and I'll let you know what I think about this palette. Alright guys, so as always, I've got my P. Louise base on, as well as my Pink Honey Original Super Hold, so that we can jump straight into this look. And if you're looking at me and thinking that my P. Louise base looks a tiny bit pink, that's because I started doing this look, and then maybe about 10 minutes in, I realized that not only had I not turned my microphone on, I hadn't even hit record. So I'd just started doing the look and wasn't filming, and that has happened way more times than I would like to admit recently. So we're just gonna start again. My eyes really need a break though, like they're so irritated. So I haven't been feeling super inspired lately, so for this look I thought I would try and find something online to recreate, and I spent a lot of time searching, but I think I found something that I'm pretty happy with. I'm gonna be recreating this look by Nuna MUA over on Instagram. If you don't follow them already, they are absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm impressed by anyone who can draw eyes like this on their arms. It is not a skill that I have, but I just thought the colours would work quite well with what we've got in the palette, so yeah, I'm gonna try it out. So the first shade that I'm gonna take is this one over here, which is called Peaceful, and I'm taking a Morphe M124, and I am going to start placing that colour with my eyes open, kind of trying to decide where my cut crease is gonna be. My eyelid skin looks absolutely terrible, guys. It looks so dry. I haven't even used retinol in several days, so that's not it. It's just really irritated and really needs a break. So we kind of need that to happen. Okay, there we go. So I do feel like the two shades blend in together really well. There's no complaint on that side of things. Pigmentation wise, again, it's looking pretty good. I do feel like maybe I have to dip in quite a lot into the palette, but I am also working with quite a small brush, working very slowly. Maybe a little bit of patchiness out in the wing, but I do like to take my time with that. Overall, it looks absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm really struggling to decide which shade to go for next between the light purple and the light pink. I feel like looking at the photo, it does look like it's maybe a little bit more purpley on top, and I've already used the light pink in my Testing Revolution video the other day. So I'm thinking, let's go for Paradise, and I'm taking that on a Sigma E36. I don't always find that Revolution eyeshadows work with the Sigma E36, but again, I really want to work with smaller brushes here because I really want to take my time. I do find with this brush that unless you're working with super pigmented eyeshadows, it does pick up the colour very lightly. It also doesn't help that it is a really light shade, so it's almost like you have to dig in even more. You just need to spend a little bit more time on it. Okay, I feel like we're getting there. And then again, just winging it out very slightly right at the end. Okay, so yeah, again, it just takes a little bit of time to build up that colour, but I do feel like we can really see it now. You'd probably get quicker payoff if you were using a different brush. But again, that is the effect that I wanted to go for. I mean, yeah, there's not much else to add at this point. I think that these shades do blend in together really well. They're not necessarily the most pigmented shades. You do have to build them up a little bit, but once you've done the building up, it looks pretty good. I think what I might just do is just take a little bit of Haven, just on the same brush, just because I do feel like maybe that's looking a little bit too purpley. So I'm kind of gonna add it to transition a bit more between the other shades. And then I'm also going to go back in with some of Island. I think I'm also just going to take a little bit more of Peaceful again, just where that cut crease is going to sit, because I do want to have that extra depth. And then just take the M506 with no extra product and just blend that out again. And then just take the E36 with no extra product, just on the wing at the end. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and finish the blending on the other eye off camera. I'm also gonna cut my crease and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've just gone ahead and cut my crease, and for that today, I've used my Mica Beauty Cosmetics eyeshadow primer. Everything that I use will as always be linked down below in case you guys are interested in checking it out. So we do have some darkness on the inner and outer portion of the cut crease. It's almost like it's a halo eye within a half cut crease. So I'm just gonna start off by going back into Island down here. I'm gonna make sure I haven't got any creases. Oh god, it is really sore. And then I'm just gonna take Island on a flat eyeshadow brush and just pop it on the inside. If you can hear any background noise, by the way, I've had to open the door to my filming room to Milton because he was meowing outside the door. Turns out he's just lying down there and loafing, and he didn't actually want to come in, so I don't know what he's doing, but I'm going to leave the door open. So I'm just doing the outer portion here as well, and that's allowing me to create a nice transition with my darkest shade. And then I'm going to go into the centre shade next, and I think for that one I'm going to take Desert, which I haven't actually tried yet. It seems quite powdery but not overly chunky, so I think I'll like that. And I've just taken it on a small flat brush, packing it on in the middle. Okay, that's not too bad. It's not packing on badly at all. This one's actually pretty easy to use. It's just not overly metallic, is it? I'm just gonna grab some setting spray. I'm just gonna see if we can make it a little bit more interesting. Kind of, I guess, I don't know. I never find spraying my brush with setting spray really works for me whenever I try it. I guess it's a little bit more reflective, I guess it's kind of working. So I've just left like a little gap right there for our next shade. For that transition shade, I'm gonna go into the shade Lush over here. I'm just taking it on a small flat brush. It's got like a little bit of flexibility to it. I did use that shade in my video the other day, testing Revolution, and it wasn't looking very good, but I think possibly it was the fact that I didn't have a wet base, and it might have been the brush as well. Yeah, it definitely was the brush. Look at that. That's actually quite nice. Oh god, that's almost a bit too pigmented here. It's kind of gone over my other shades. I'm just going to pack it on and then I'll come and blend it out, but in 1 second packed on, so much better than on the other side. Not on the other side, in my other video. Okay, yeah, absolutely no issues with that at all. That packed on really well. So I'm now going to go back in with some more of Desert, and we're just going to blend the two shades in together. I feel like on camera, Lush almost looks like it has like a blue reflect to it, almost like a duochrome, but I just don't see it in real life. But yeah, on camera, I just always think like, oh, it's actually a bit more interesting, possibly the most interesting shade in the palette. And then I'm also going to go in with some more of Island. Hi! You going to come and see me? He's not going to come and see me, he's just too grumpy. Just adding a little bit more of Lush as well. I'm really taking my time on this, just to create a really, really nice blend between those shades. Okay, I am really happy with the way that that looks. I think one thing that's really nice about this palette is how the metallics blend into each other and blend into the matte shades. I feel like they can create some really interesting tones, so I'm really happy with the way that the cut crease looks. If I had to improve anything, I do kind of wish that Desert was just a slightly more interesting shade. It's not the best, like it could be a bit more exciting, but overall I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Well, Milton's in here. He's literally under my drawers. I think I do want to create a nice smoky lash line. There's always a really nice smoky lash line on all the looks by Nuna MUA. So I'm just going to take my Wet n Wild Breakup Proof liner. I think this is just in black. He's leaving the room, but he's letting me know that he's leaving the room. So I'm just going to run that along my lash line. It's looking quite messy right now, so I'm just going to take another flat eyeshadow brush and smoke that out. Okay, I feel like I maybe do want to add some sort of liner detail or glitter later, just to make it a little bit more interesting. For now, I'm just going to go and finish off the other side of the cut crease. I'm going to prime my lower lash line, and then I'll come back so that we can do that together. Alright, so my lower lash line is now primed, and I think we're going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to start off by taking the shade Peaceful again, just on the same Morphe M124. And I'm going to pop that into the lash line. I'm also just coming backwards with my brush, making sure it's nicely lined up. Got a nice straight line. I've gone a bit too low, but I will clean that up when I do my concealer. And then I'm just making sure to finish pulling it out into that wing. And then to finish it off, I'm going to go into Island again, but this time I'm taking a Sigma E36 just to be a little bit more precise with it. And I'm literally just going to blend. Then on the waterline, I'm just going to take the Wet n Wild eyeliner again. I did say I was going to add a liner detail, so I'm just going to take my W7 Galaxy Glam Metal Flash in the shade Cosmic. I've just taken the stopper out just so I can dip it in and get more product out in one go. And then I'm going to take my own liner brush to use with it so I can be a bit more precise. There we go. I know I always add some sort of line to my cut creases, but I do just feel like it finishes it off. It just makes it look a little bit more polished, and especially where I don't think that that main metallic shade is necessarily the most interesting, I feel like it's just added a little something to the look. Alright guys, so that is it for this look. The only remaining things are obviously brows, lashes, but I like to do that after I've got the rest of my face on. And then I do also need to highlight my brow bone in my inner corner. The only shade that is really suitable for that is this one here called Serene. I tried it yesterday and guys, it's just so yellow. I didn't like the way that it looks on me. Again, if it was like a little bit more of an interesting shade, if it was a little bit more glittery, I might be okay with it, but no, it just doesn't work for me. Other than that, I do really like the way that this looks right now. As I said, I feel like the metallic shades could just be a little bit more interesting, have a little bit more oomph, but in terms of it looking like the original look, I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. So I'm gonna leave my thoughts here. I'm just gonna go and do the rest of my makeup, and then when I come back, we'll have a chat about my final thoughts on the palette. All right guys, so here is the finished look. I know that you guys have already seen it, but I do of course hope that you'd like it. I do like the way that the look has turned out. It's definitely giving me very summery, sunset vibes. It's just kind of getting me in the mood for summer, because I feel like right now time is moving a little bit too slowly and I'm like, I want to get to summer, I want to get to sunshine. So this is definitely kind of getting me in the right mood for that. I do wish the metallics, I wish there was something a little bit more exciting about them. Like, I kind of feel like I could have used some matte shades on the cut crease and you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So that brings me to my final thoughts on this palette. And I am going to start by saying that the more I have used this, the more I have enjoyed it. My first impressions, I was very much like, oh god, this, you know, I'm not super happy with this. I kind of regret buying it. And having used it a couple more times, even though yesterday's look was a complete fail, I do enjoy it a lot more. I have done something that I really like. And I think especially having recreated someone else's look, when you are a little bit stuck in a rut, that does just really help you. Just try different techniques, try new things, and I do really feel that that has really helped me enjoy this palette a bit more today. I think the mattes in here are pretty good for a drugstore palette. I did think the pigmentation was pretty good, and I thought they blended out together really, really well, so I had no issues with that at all. The metallics for me are what kind of brings this palette down, unfortunately, especially when you have a palette that does have less mattes than metallics, even though in this case it's just one less. I do feel like the metallics do just have to be a bit more special. They just really have to have something really interesting about them to make the palette more successful. I definitely feel like I had a better experience with them today and yesterday than I did in Tuesday's video. They're just okay, like they don't really bring anything interesting to the table. If you compare it to the Amrezy palette or the Show Off palette, which again I do definitely think that this is inspired by, you know, they have some glitters in there, they have some other textures, and these are kind of all just the same. I think some other textures would have been nice. Again, some glitters. I know that not everyone likes pressed glitters, but some shimmers or something just a bit more interesting. And for me, this does come back to the fact that it is a palette that works out to be more expensive than previous ones, and I don't feel like that's reflected in the quality of the eyeshadow. I feel like we are paying for the packaging more than anything else, and also just the fact that it is called ultraviolet and it barely has any purples. Like, to me, that is a big failing from this palette. I don't think this is a bad color story, and I think if you are someone who has a smaller makeup collection, you're gonna like having your colors mixed in with your nudes, but I think the name is just misleading. I think it should have been called something completely different. I'd probably get rid of most of the nudes personally, and I'd have some much more vibrant purples that are just missing from this palette right now. So yeah, while I have enjoyed playing with this palette today, I do like the way that this looks. I just know that for me, it's not a palette that I'm gonna reach for because it's just not that exciting. And again, if you're someone with a smaller collection, that probably doesn't matter as much, but I do have a lot of palettes, and there's nothing for me that sets this apart from other things that I own, and I just think it's a shame, and I'm just not sure it's worth that price increase. So if this is a color scheme that you like, you really want this palette, you feel like you're gonna get a lot of use out of it, then, you know, go for it. It's not a terrible palette. There's definitely worse out there. I just feel like Revolution really could have done more with this one, especially considering how much more expensive it is than previous palettes they've done. They could have just given us more. They could have just made it a bit more interesting. I think personally that this is maybe a little bit lazy, and I don't see myself reaching for it all that often. So thank you very much for watching today's video, guys. I hope as always that you liked it and that you did find it helpful. Definitely let me know in the comments if you were thinking about buying this palette, or if you already have it, what are your thoughts on it? If you did enjoy the video, then do as always make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, then do make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys!